the famous, one of the legendary survivalists from the show Naked and Afraid, but he is so much more than that. He's also an educator. He saves bees. He is passionate about wildlife and is known as the Tarzan of Los Angeles.
All right, yeah, that's me. That's right. You just introduced me. That's right, you crazy witch.
That's me. And you introduced me, so thank you.
What's that?
Yes. So I have so many questions for you. I hope your ears aren't tired because I am wondering so many things. I'm a huge fan of the show Naked and Afraid, which is how I found out about you. But you're just a very interesting person, and you are kind of doing crazy stuff long before the show.
I would say, yeah, especially when, because I became part of the show, like a little like later, not in my 20s, but a little later. So yeah, I've been doing some crazy things. Yeah.
So you spent your 20s, 30s doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, pretty much my whole life. I think there's a lot of crazy stories in there somewhere.
Yeah, I heard the one about you eating a dolphin. Apparently that's got some people up in arms.
I actually ate a dead baby dolphin off the beach in California one day. Yeah, I did that.
I'm sorry, but that sounds disgusting.
Well, you know what? Hey, hold on now. That sounds disgusting to you? Well, you know what I have to say to that? Thank you.
Delicioso, right?
What's that?
Delicioso, that's your favorite line.
Actually, the dead baby dolphin was delicioso. Oh yeah, delicioso.
Was it really though? Did it actually taste good?
That dolphin actually did not taste good.
Okay.
That because who knows how long it was dead out at sea.
Yeah, I can see that. So I think the people who get upset don't realize you found this dolphin dead. You did not just find a baby dolphin, club it to death and eat it. Like
No, okay. Yeah, to clear that up, I would be the first one to save a dolphin in the wild. Yeah. Like I would save a dolphin. I would never kill a dolphin, but it was dead already. And right. Living up to this thing, and there's a story behind it. Actually, there's a good story behind it. You want to hear the story?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I was getting ready to go snorkeling, and then I come upon this dead baby dolphin. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh man. So I thought I would cut the stomach open and I would find plastics and balloons or something like that, right? And I was going to do a whole rant about what mankind is doing to the planet. And I thought that would be a beautiful message, right? And it would be connected to what I'm about.
Yeah.
And being that I'm on this TV show, I figured it would go viral even more, right? More so.
Yeah, spread that word.
Yeah, so I thought, hey, that's a good way to carry the message. Like, look what mankind, their consumption is doing to these beautiful animals. So it came from an angle that considers this animal very beautiful and precious. Okay, that's how it started. And so then I cut it open and there was nothing in the stomach. And I was like, oh man. And there were seagulls, waiting around. They were trying to pick through it and eat it, but it was hard to get to. And so I knew that I would be doing the seagulls a favor as well, right? Bringing out all the tender stuff. Okay. So I cut it open. I was walking away. The seagulls were scavenging it and going at it. And then it clicked. And I thought, wait, I'm known as the scavenger on Naked and Afraid.
That's true.
And I was like, this is right up my alley. Like, I don't want to let that thing go to waste. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat it. And so I went back and I cut the heart out and I cut the filet mignon, the backstrap out. And I took a big chunk of it with me. And there's people standing around watching, wondering what the heck I'm doing. And I took it. And then I took it and I wrapped it in a brown paper bag that I found down there. And I stuffed it in my backpack and I went snorkeling for a couple hours because I wanted to go snorkeling. And then I get out of the water after snorkeling and I grab my backpack and these two young girls, like researchers from the local college down there, that's like an oceanic college, like marine biology, called Scripps. They come walking by me, and I go, "Oh, what are you girls doing? You guys here to go research the dolphin?" And they're all, "Yeah." And I didn't want to tell them what was in my bag because I had already done that, and I didn't want them to ruin my lunch. So I took it back to my van, parked on the beach, and I have a Coleman stove, and I cooked up the dolphin meat, and I ate it. So basically, I didn't want to let it go to waste, because if you do know me from Naked and Afraid XL4, especially,
Mhm.
I find that dead animal and I eat it. And so, and my saying in there is waste not, want not. So I use the dolphin for nourishment, and I figured it would help carry the message of not wasting. And um, and I'll be honest, I wanted to troll society a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie.
You
All
like to
right.
provoke people a little bit, get some dialogue, get a little
It'll
reaction.
bring it. It'll bring attention to the cause.
Yeah.
So that beautiful, precious creature, which is why my original intentions was so precious that it became also delicioso. So now,
It
hey,
wasn't. It was not delicious.
now listen. So now, whenever I'm in a conversation with people, the thing that I get now is I'll be in a conversation and people have a dolphin tattoo or whatever, and they'll be, "Oh God, yeah, I love dolphins," and I'll go, "Me too. They're delicious." I get to say that now.
Quite the story. Yeah, you've tried dolphin. And did you
I
get in any trouble for that? I assume it's not. I assume it's frowned upon to eat dolphin.
I did get in trouble.
Okay.
Yes.
You wouldn't
And
recommend people.
in the video, I cook it up, and my dog Frankie, he won't even eat any of it. And I'm like, "What do you know that I don't know?
Hmm.
If a dog won't eat what I'm going to eat," and I got in trouble, and I got a fine for it.
Yeah.
NOAA came after me, Northern Oceanic Atmospheric Association or something like that. And yeah, I got a fine for it, and it was, I got in trouble.
Yeah. So you wouldn't say go find a dead dolphin and eat it to people out there.
No, I mean, it went viral around the world. It was above the Russian scandal and the Daily Beast in the UK. It was all over Twitter. The next day, people were calling me, going, "What the hell did you do?" The television network was pissed off at me. I mean, I trolled a whole lot of people from that one.
So no regrets is what I'm hearing.
No, I'm not so sure. I think the world and the people out there watching, the law enforcement, I think I'm supposed to regret it.
Okay.
But
Lots of regrets.
yeah, yeah, don't ever do that.
So, okay, you're talking about consume as little as possible. Where did that come from, and what does it mean? How did you get that to be your message you want to give to the world?
You know what? I like that question a lot, because there is a story behind it. And I'll tell you what it was I've always been a guy that kind of hated materialism.
Mhm.
Okay. And in social media land, over a decade ago, I used to attack diamond rings and the world of materialism very harshly. I didn't how anybody could have diamonds and gold attached to love, like a materialistic item that actually has a level that displays the 2 months income of the man, and like, so it's vanity and status and just showing off the most superficial concept in the world. And I used to attack that. And so it evolved. Then one day I was walking down the street, and a saying crossed my head, and it was, "Kill mankind." Yeah, kill mankind. It's the greenest thing you can do. Save the planet, kill mankind. I started a clothing line called Kill Mankind, kind of in the vein, because I'm a guy. I was a kid that grew up on Black Sabbath and Ozzy and Iron Maiden and AC/DC, right? So to me, it was like rock and roll. It was like kind of punk rock, like kill mankind, right?
Yeah.
And so that's cool. Like a clothing line that kind of like bothers people, kind of like what Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath did back in the day.
Yeah.
And so, what's that?
Get a reaction out of people, get people
Yeah,
to talk about it.
yes, and back then, like when Black Sabbath came out, that was the darkest, most evil band in the world. And you know, if you put it in perspective, in that time of innocence, they were dark. That was the big metal band. They inspired all the metal bands. So basically, I thought it was cool, but it scared people. It really did scare people. And now it's so crazy because if you look at the world, what's going on with the WEF and uh, and Klaus Schwab and all this stuff, and how people think that they're trying to like population control. Like I was like a little bit ahead of my thing there because I came up with it like 15 years ago. So, anyways, it scared people, and I was like, dang, you know. And all of a sudden, one day, just like Kill Mankind fell out of the sky and hit me in the head because no one owned it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got it on. I own. If you go to killmankind.com, it's mine, and I have a clothing line. So all of a sudden, this hit me out of the blue. Consume as little as possible, and I was like, because I had done all kinds of research, and I knew I started learning what's destroying the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh man, it's not plastic, it's not fossil fuel, no, it's actually everything we touch. A lot of people don't know that our sugar comes from Haitian slaves in the Dominican Republic to this day. The Dark Side of Chocolate, all these documentaries now, I was like, it's everything. And so I said, man, just cut the debate out of it. This right here, consume as little as possible, is the actual answer. So no matter what you're into, if you're a vegan, vegans tend to think they have the hierarchy on environmentalism. Then you got to remember, I'm a survivalist who lives off the land. They're wrong. They don't, because I live in a world where you do eat meat hyperconsciously to cause balance on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it all hit me. And in order to get the debate out of the way, every vegan, every meat eater, every person on earth could just go, hey, we don't got to debate over if plastic's bad, because plastic is not bad. And I'll tell you why. Because the reason it's good is because there's been advances in the medical industry using plastic that saved a lot of lives. Not to mention, it's how we use it. So if a Hurricane Katrina, they dropped in bottled water. Well, guess what? Bottled water is good. It's like a hammer. We just use too much of it and we use it wrong. So it's kind of like a hammer. It could build a house, something beautiful, or it could bash windows in. So if you use it the right way when you need it, that bottled water can save lives.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So plastic is not bad. Fossil fuel is not bad. 8 billion people benefited from it on the planet. And they want to now bite the hand that feeds. And that's when I realized we're being sold a bunch of BS. It's really how much we use of any of it, whether it's electric cars or what. And if we use it for convenience only because we're lazy, that's when we cross the line. So consume as little as possible. It just cuts the debate out of all of it. And what I teach people is this is the most powerful sentence on the planet. And if every single human being on earth did this today, the planet would be cleaner by tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so it hit me out of the blue, just like Kill Mankind did. And I was like, well, that's good. That is, and then it was like, I was like, that is the actual answer. It is like, I literally had the universe gave me the actual answer. And I was like, whoa. And I did the research. No one owned the .com. I trademarked it. This is trademark.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So
amazing.
I own it. And to touch on that, because of this sentence, if you do watch Naked and Afraid, I am the only survivalist that is allowed to wear his logo on his clothing. No one else is, only Gary Golden.
I also noticed that between your first challenge and subsequent ones, you got it tattooed on your back.
Well, that's
Was that
a good
before
story.
the show?
What happened is on the first one, it was a one hour episode.
Mm-hmm.
When they asked me to go on XL, I knew I'd make it to 10 episodes.
Yeah.
I knew I knew my name would be bigger. And then I was told back then that the show was seen by 41 million people on Earth in so many languages.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man. And I truly believe it. So I was like, wow, the universe put me. I was in Brazil, right, where the Amazon is, where they strip and destroy the Amazon. And then I was going to Africa where they strip and destroy. And I was like, holy crap, the universe put me on a show where you have almost nothing, you barely consume anything, And I'm the man that owns the sentence, consume as little as possible. So when I knew I was going to go to Africa, I I said, I really believed in it. And I said, I owe it to the world to carry this message to humanity, because look what the universe gave me, this gift. Not only did it give me the concept of knowing that this is the most powerful sentence on earth, but it also put me in mainstream media where they're trying to sell you stuff in commercials. And like, and I'm going to the continents that are getting destroyed the most with a message for the world, and I'm the only one allowed to do it.
I think that's genius because you can't take off your tattoos. Like you have to take off your clothes for the show, obviously, but that's staying with you wherever you go. So anytime you're on a show like this, you're spreading that message to the world. And it's not only that you're known for being out there and crazy and wild and doing all those things, but you're also showing that at the same time.
Well, that's okay. Now I love that you. Now this is what's beautiful where you connected, right? And what's your name?
Celeste.
Celeste. Celeste the witch.
Yes.
Celeste the best witch. Okay, now listen, Celeste. So what you just said. See, now we're getting into the intellect of what's happening here, and I love it because you're connecting it. A lot of people don't, because people tell me all the time, because of the way I act. They go, "You just love attention. You just love attention." I'm like, and they try to make you feel bad, right?
Mhm.
And so I go, "You're damn right I do. You're
Same.
damn right. Yeah." Like, and I'm not going to shy away from it and you make me feel bad about it, because you know why? Because it's what you said. Look what I'm bringing attention to. So, so, so it's kind of like, people that are sharp enough to know that like this guy's over the top, he's crazy and everything, but look where I landed. Look where I'm at. And at least I'm drawing attention to something that's beautiful for the earth. So you can judge me for my over the top craziness, but I'm probably a lot more calculated and intellectual than you think. Eating a dolphin might be a smarter move than you could have imagined. Being so wild and crazy that I'm perfect for reality TV.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make me feel bad about who I am, because you know what? I found a way to use my craziness for positivity.
Yeah, I think that's amazing that you were able to build a platform with the things your natural skills, but also your personality, and turn that into something that gets attention, that has the potential to change the planet in some way.
And I'll connect it to something that you'll relate to. Everybody will relate to. I tell everybody I sort of have the same qualities like Charlie Sheen, a very Charlie Sheen-esque the way I carry myself. I'm kind of ramble, I run my mouth, and I'm a little crazy, right? But if you put us side by side, there's a difference. He was rambling and running his mouth about hookers, cocaine, tiger's blood, and alcohol, right?
Hmm.
I'm running my mouth, but if you compare what we're talking about, at least I'm talking about, you don't see me talking about alcohol, drugs, and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
At least when I run my mouth, I may look crazy, but it's about very powerful things. And I'm running my mouth, and I'm kind of arrogant about it like that. But you know what? At least it's about something beautiful, and I'm not out there pushing anything that's gonna, it's something that kids can look at. It's something that my mother can be proud of. So you know what? So I'm a little happy. I'm a little fired up. I'm inspired. I'm running my mouth. Give me a break. It's beautiful.
Well, you should be. Speaking of which, how did you get on Naked and Afraid? How did that happen? Did you audition or apply, or however you get on there?
That's a good story. I'll tell you what happened is I went viral around the world uh, in 2014. I was caught on camera saving a kid's life in the ocean of California. And it's connected to this. So I had an old friend who was a musician. I used to be a musician. And he said, man, I got to get out of this musician crap. And he decided to go get a career. And he went to school to become an editor on an editor for like film and video, right? And he was watching the news, and he's watching the news, and 12 years have passed since we've seen each other, and I'm all over the news. And he's like, what the hell? I know Gary Golden. And so he said he went to the computer and he Googled me, and he saw that I had this Kill Mankind back then website, and I was doing all this cool stuff. I had snakes in my hand, all this cool stuff in nature. And then I had become a teacher. So then I'm also with children. And he was like inspired. He's like, dude, man, your life is interesting. And he said, we should make a show about you. So we started putting film together. He filmed me doing a few things. And then he started pitching it to the networks. And then life got busy and we went our separate ways for a while. And then he started working for Naked and Afraid. So
Okay.
he calls me up and he goes, dude, I'm working for the perfect show for you, dude. And I go, okay, what is it? And he goes, and so, he didn't just get me in from that. So then I had to go interview. And when they interviewed me, I come off pretty, I'm made for reality TV.
Very
And then
chill, very calm, very easygoing.
absolutely, yeah. And so the interview was insane. They loved me. And in the interview, they were like, oh yeah, he's gone. And then so it was a chain of events of me saving a life in the ocean, and having a background in survival, that goes further back even, but saving a life in the ocean that was caught on camera, seen around the world. And then somebody that knew me seeing it, who worked for the show, and then said, hey, Gary, interview for the show. And then I did, and I was made for it. And then you get me on TV, and it's the perfect storm, because then I'm also become a fan favorite and a legend, and I'm way over the top on TV.
Yeah, have a huge fan base of people that just love.
Yeah, so what happened is it was that perfect blend of all those things together that put me on Naked and Afraid. And that's how I was actually found. And the beauty of it, if we go to the root of it, what I love to say, I was found to be on a show where I'm carrying a message from saving the life of another human being.
That's pretty amazing and serendipitous.
Yeah, absolutely right. Serendipitous. So, and then when they did the research on me, the Naked and Afraid people, they were like, holy crap, look at this guy. He saves lives. He teaches children. And my backstory was just so beautiful that they were like, yeah. And then the way I acted on top of it, I act so crazy sometimes. People will be like, they let you near kids? But I could separate, how I talk to adults. I don't treat kids the way I do adults.
Yeah. So on your first challenge, you were alone for a lot of the challenge, but you ended up not making it the 21 days and you still got invited to the XL. That was it. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I was the only one on that XL that didn't finish his challenge. In fact, my other survivalist partners, they gave me crap for that. Like because they get competitive out there, and which kind of, we got in a lot of arguments, and I would tell them, you don't know what I'm capable of. And I'll be honest with you, what happened in the end, with all the crap talking, is I was the most written about and talked about character on that season.
Yeah,
Me
and
and Matt.
a lot of camera time just because there was a lot to talk about and a lot to show. And you, I think, really threw a lot of people off in that XL with the things you ate. You were kind of known as being a scavenger on that one because I think everybody at home too is like, ugh, at the things that you were bringing back to eat.
Yeah, and I'm genuine out there. I do, when I pick on people for not eating that type of stuff, I'm serious, because I'm like, what are you doing out here? Like, we're living off the land in Africa. If does this makes you sick? And I'm like, really? Like, I'm being serious. I'm like, I'm not, I'm like, I don't expect the people at home to be able to do it, but if you're out there living off the land and you think that I make you queasy, I'm like, well, then you're in the wrong field, buddy.
Yeah, so if
So
people haven't seen it, you brought back this like animal head. What kind of animal was it? Like
it's called a Nyala,
a nyala.
Nyala, Nyala. And I brought back what you didn't see, what didn't make television, was I had gone out earlier and brought back the two legs too. I had the two legs and the head, and the backstrap, the filet mignon. And so there was a lot more meat than even that head. And yeah, that did launch me into sort of, I am known as when you think of the scavenger of Naked and Afraid, I am the scavenger of Naked
Right.
and Afraid. Which then another episode came out, a 2-hour special with me and Matt and two fans, and that's where I get the actual official label as the scavenger, because it was like the hunter against the scavenger.
That kind of ended up biting you sometimes what you're willing to eat, because most of the challenges you've been have not succeeded at was because you ate something questionable. Is that the case?
My very first one,
Yeah.
and I thought I was going to die. And I would say what you don't see, I don't think I'd have to watch it again. But in the second, no, in the third one, oh, in that second one, XL 4, you know, I take a few poops and stuff. But if you eat nothing but pure meat all day, everybody poops. It's like called the meat sweats, and when that's all you eat is meat, like as much as I was. So that wasn't an unhealthy pooping. That was a guy that was eating meat all day long, and that's where a lot of the fans don't they don't realize that. And then but my teammates also were trying to make it look like I made a negative move, and man, I was like, no, 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 no. What I did was what you should have all been doing. And so it was interesting, but it did give me, in the next episode after that, the next challenge I did after that, I was officially labeled the scavenger, and then I found another dead impala, and then on XL7 I found a armadillo, and in my alone challenge, I don't think I found anything dead on that one. But it's a regular thing where I don't pass that opportunity up, um, and it's so, because here's the deal: you see those people out there, it's called meat glory. A lot of those people out there looking for meat glory. They want to hunt and get the biggest kill and the best kill. So I kind of found a niche where I didn't have to compete for it. Nobody wanted it,
Yeah.
and I took it
Yeah.
gladly.
I see how people are. They're like, I just have to get that big win, But do you ever do like hunting? I've seen you fish. You do hunting or trapping or any of those things?
Oh yeah, I'm perfectly capable, but I never brought a bow. And I usually know whoever I'm going with is going to, and they're usually uh, more experienced than me. Like on my third challenge, I went with Matt, and I was like, the last thing I'm going to do is bring a bow, and because I'm very realistic and I'm very fair, and I realized, oh no, that's Matt's job. That's why me and Matt we clicked really good on that challenge, because we had a system. I'm like, no, dude, you go hunt. I'll build the shelter, get the wood, and I'll do what I can on the side. And I never crossed you, Frank. I never crossed. I made what I could on the side, but I never crossed you. No, just kidding. So anyways, um, and so Matt liked being with me as a partner because I wasn't competing with him. A lot of those people will compete, and we had a system, and it kicked butt.
And you have your thing, he has his thing, and you were both able to showcase what you do, what you can bring to the table in different ways.
And instead of competing, him and I said, "No, we're not going to compete. We're going to team up." And we kicked butt on that challenge. At that point, when that was released, we both got the highest PSR of 9.8.
Yeah, I saw that. And I noticed like one of the things, like you said, people tend to be competitive. How on an XL challenge and things like that, do you deal with all the different personalities that come up and you're all, starving, cold, hot, dealing with bugs, dehydrated? How do you manage all those different personalities?
You got to be, it's kind of like you got to have a temperament that is forgiving, and because you got to let people be people. If you get too sensitive out there, which does happen, we kind of will swing that way. We got to catch ourselves. Sometimes we check each other or whatever, or you check yourself. But you got to let people make mistakes, and you got to be pretty well rounded. I mean, a lot of the people that do kind of make it as legends, and that you see a lot, we when you get to the top ones that are used a lot, we've tend to have to, we still have trouble with each other, but you got to be good at psychology to a degree. A lot of people don't, they're surviving the elements, the bugs, the hunger, and then the people. But the top two that are the hardest, I think, is the bugs and missing the ones you love.
I was going to ask about the bugs because, like, sitting in my bed watching the show, I'm like, I could totally do that, except the bugs.
Okay, now, hey, that, shut up. I don't even want to hear that.
I would
I'm,
tap it out. I would. I know that. Like, everyone gets that perspective, like, oh, that's so easy. Why are they tapping after a day? But no, I know I would be out instantly. I would be like, three mosquito bites and I'd be gone.
That's what took my very first partner out. Yeah, the bugs, those blood-sucking flies.
How do you
And
deal with the bugs?
and I will tell you, hey, I will tell you something. Like those flies on my first challenge, they were horrendous because what you don't realize is there's the actual physical pain of the fly biting you, but then there's the visual, and they're in your eye, and then the little tiny ones are trying to suck the water out of your eyes, and then there's the audio, and and it's an overwhelming smashing of mentality. It was so tiring that they would come out for 2 hours in the evening, and they would leave when it would get dark. And by the end of the couple of hours, I would start seeing blurred vision just from being worn out from those flies, like mentally.
Yeah. That was intense. And you lasted a long time alone on that challenge. And as your first challenge, I thought that was really impressive. That I felt sad for your partner, especially because she was a fellow Wisconsinite. But, it's.
That's right. She was from Wisconsin, and Kara, she's a beautiful person. But yeah, those flies, they were no joke, and they came every single night.
Yeah,
As soon as
so I was gonna say sometimes I feel like the episodes follow a storyline. So they'll show the storyline of the bugs, but then it'll kind of seem to go away, and they focus on other things like the hunger, but I'm sure in real life it doesn't go away.
no, my challenge in Belize, there's something called chiggers, and when you step on the ground, they chew you up from the knees down. Now, that's in the morning when you get up. So you're like, oh God, but the mosquitoes are all night. And then you step on the ground. When the mosquitoes are gone, then the chiggers eat you. So you're sometimes you're in places where you are eaten constantly.
So is all this worth it to spread your message to the world of enduring all this stuff, hunger, bugs?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I thought about that and if you look at stories of and I'm not having like a messiah complex, because I think that, like, for example, a lot of people forget that Buddha was just a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so they think that they can't achieve and do what Buddha did. And even Buddha himself says, you can do all I can do. I'm just a regular man. And he says, if you see the Buddha, kill the Buddha. So basically, to argue with what I'm about to say next, you'd be arguing with Buddha if you're a Buddhist. So if you look at the story of Buddha, number one, I want to point out, he left his wife and child in the middle of the night with a horse, and his wife suffered from depression, which in today's world would be called a deadbeat dad. So, so he had very normal. He was a human.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is, if you do look at the story of Buddha, in order to get his message out, there was a whole lot of suffering.
Yeah.
And something that I do a whole lot of starvation, right? A whole lot of hunger. And yeah, I kind of looked at it like it's almost sort of there's a lot of the stereotypical path of the spiritual being, right? And so I actually am pretty bold and arrogant with how I say it. And I say, you got to remember, Buddha walked the planet 2,600 years ago on a planet with 100,000 people on it, where the middle way made sense. But even though he existed, we're still in this thing today where we're getting up to 8 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell everyone, Buddha was close. but there's a new sheriff in town. Get out of the way. Gary Gold came along and I hit the nail on the head. And it's funny to me that people would have a problem with that at all, that they couldn't believe that spirituality couldn't evolve over 2,600 years. So they have that cap, that ceiling on their belief because they were a follower, where I consider myself to have the same DNA as him. So I am the spiritual. I don't follow spirituality. I create it.
I like that. And you have to have a big personality like that to really get a message out. You have to be out there. You have to have a little, you have to have confidence. You have to have a little bit of almost arrogance because
yeah, conviction, right? Or ego. And that's the thing about it. A lot of people don't realize that. That's why I brought up that part about Buddha. And one reason he was famous right from the gate, he was a prince that was rich and walked out on a bunch of money. That made people go, oh my God, he was famous from the gate.
yeah. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. How much time do they give you to prepare for a challenge?
About, you kind of know you're going for like sometimes a couple months, sometimes only a month. Sometimes if things didn't go well and there's been emergencies and people knew in a couple of days.
If you know in advance, you try to bulk up, eat as much food as you can, things like that.
If you know in advance, you'll start trying to bulk up, lift weights, get fat. It's interesting. I remember one time I was thinking, how interesting, I'm trying to get fat and in shape at the same time, kind of together. Because for this particular thing, it's a little different than just flat out bulking up as much as you try to get fat,
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And, there's some people that like, I see some people, some of the survivalists that are some of the most well-known ones. I mean, I don't think he would mind me saying, like Steven, for example, he'll smoke cigarettes all the way till the day we go in. He's not worried about any addictions,
Yeah.
And it's sort of that mentality where like, man, you do have to have a little bit of like, F it, man. I don't care, I got this, And so there's a combo. You do want to bulk up for sure, though. You want to bulk up because your body's going to start eating muscle and everything. And some of us, we start losing our teeth, our hair.
I'm gonna ask, I saw that it's mentioning Steven that he lost some teeth in a challenge. Well, over the course of challenges, have you had any permanent effects from your challenges?
The most permanent effect is probably there's a scar on my back from when they cut an infection out of my back on my alone challenge. And, it almost got to my tattoo, but it didn't. But, for me, that's the biggest. But some of these other people have been, I think there's a little thing on it. I think Monty might have been on a walker for a year. And
Wow.
This stuff, we catch diseases, we sign up to die. Well, I'll tell you what is very real. It's a real challenge. What a lot of people don't, nobody watches us at night.
Yeah.
Like if a cat jumps on us at night, like a big cat, we're fighting that cat. Like there's nobody watching us with guns or something at night.
To my next question, have you ever been genuinely afraid on these challenges, like really afraid?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. I've been very afraid. I've been more afraid of weather.
Okay.
Weather will do you in pretty quick. So I've been more afraid of weather and bugs. The bigger animals, they could be scary, but you could control the bigger animals. Like if you know how to do your fire and make enough noise, you can't control the bugs.
You had an elephant by you one time, though. That can be pretty scary.
Oh, but I don't think it made it to TV. I got to watch that one again. They didn't show when the elephant chased us for a football field, and
Oh no.
Molly's screaming, "I didn't sign up for this. I have 2 children. happened? And me and Matt are the type that we're like, we're getting a kick out of it. We're probably getting a rush, but like we're running from this big bull elephant. They can outrun us. They're fast, and they're territorial, and people think elephants are cute and nice, and no, and so it's just kind of doing a fast, brisk walk, kind of like if you're walking towards someone to like what, and it's knocking down trees. But that brisk walk has us running. That's our run.
That's
And
terrifying.
yeah, and so I've been chased butt naked by an elephant through Africa, and it was terrifying. What was scary about it, I remember me and Blair would be sitting in our shelter, and the babies elephants would be over there, and we would be like, and me and Blair had this boma that had a shell over the top of branches. It wasn't just in a circle, so we couldn't just like necessarily jump out. And so we're like, I remember me and Blair being like, man, I hope that one of those babies doesn't like get curious, because if the mom won't discern from whether the baby came near us or we came near the baby, if we're just close to the baby, that mom might come over and stomp us out. So I remember me and Blair thinking, they're cute and all, but please, baby, stay away from us, And I'll tell you a funny story as far as fear goes. I'm a veteran. I've been there. I was kind of, my mentality is, I know I can't do much about it, but Blair was brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And we're out in Africa. And it kind of worked good. This helped me sleep better too, because she was so terrified that she was staying up and listening for every noise and watching for everything. So I had like an alarm system. So I'd sleep like a baby, like, and then Gary, and I'd get woke up and I'd be like, oh yeah, we're fine, and like, you kind of have to have this, there's got to be a certain nonchalantness about it in order to not drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
And after about 3 nights of that, I think Blair wore herself down enough to start falling asleep at night.
Okay, I was gonna ask how you handle the fear when you're scared. You just kind of have to push through and be like, well, this is my time.
Yeah, there is definitely a mentality when you do these things that you have to go into it thinking, well, if I die, it's the way it was meant to be. It kind of helps you cope. Like that's part of being an adventurer or a survivalist, is like, hey, I can't control the universe. I kind of signed up to die, so I do think that way. You're kind of in acceptance of death, so that way you can relax.
How do you cope with the pain, the discomfort? Like, I know mental toughness is a big factor in making it through these challenges. How do you get that mental toughness to get through those things?
You keep telling yourself that's actually, it goes back to what you asked me about the first one, how I didn't finish it, but I got invited to do the second one. Well, the producer out there said to me, man, you've been out here, excuse me, you've been out here 9 days and you like ate nothing. You barely ate, and you don't complain at all. You never say I'm hungry. You got flies sucking on you every day, and you're joking, and you are very, very tough. And I had a lot of integrity. And on day 8, I remember he said, do you want to go on XL? So he was so impressed with me. The crew was so impressed with me by day 8, they invited me to do XL. So because of that mentality, right? So, and I kept saying, I don't have to do this. I get to do this,
Okay.
and I realized that every bite and every blood sucking was a gift. And I just think of it that way.
Okay. That's very interesting. When you're there and you're hungry, was there one food that kept coming back, like, oh, I can't wait to eat this, or that was what you were thinking of? What was it?
We do. In fact, one partner I had, okay, one theme that you hear, mm-hmm. Cheese. Oh my God, cheese. Oh yeah. In fact, one friend / partner, talking about starting a cheese cult in the Naked and Afraid world because, man, we talk about cheese and pizza, right? And like, cheese is it. I got to tell you. But then, and we sit there and we'll talk all night about recipes. I'll tell you one thing I learned. Talking about food. All you do is talk about food. We get all kinds of ideas about food and recipes from each other because we talk about food all night long. And Sarah Dancer, my partner Sarah,
Yeah.
She taught me the hack for eating Oreo cookies in milk. Do you know what it is?
No, what is it?
I was like, it was brilliant because you know how you dip Oreo cookies in milk and it crumbles in your fingers and they fall in. And she told me, especially with the thicker stuff like the double stuffs, you get the fork, you stick it in the white stuff, and you dip that in like that, and that white stuff stays firm the whole time, and then all the black stuff is soft, but you're not holding it, and you stick the fork into the white cream and you dip it that way, and it works amazing.
Oh, so you're really learning some secrets of the universe here.
Yeah, you learn all kinds of secrets about food, but so I'll tell you that, and like buttered bread, like, oh, buttered bread, the smell. And I never drank coffee, barely, before XL4, but coffee's aromatic, right?
Oh yeah.
And so like after XL4, I became a coffee addict. I drink coffee now ever since. That's been what, 2017, I think I was out there. So ever since 2017, I drink coffee every day. Before that, I never did because when I was in there, I remember thinking, man, when I get out of here, I'm gonna like dive in. And I remember when at the extraction party, the wrap party, I had milk, coffee, soda, a beer, mineral water, everything and every taste and smell. And coffee was one of them, man. So yeah, we do crave stuff, but cheese would have to be the top dog.
That's very interesting. Are there, when you go in there, I'm sure they give you rules. Are there animals you can't touch, places you can't go? And does the crew ever eat in front of you?
The crew's not allowed to eat in front of us.
Okay. That'd just be mean.
They're not even allowed to talk about food in front of us. But every now and then, those of us, like I've been a lot of times on these challenges. And so some of the camera crews are like our friends, and hey, what's up? We're back, and we see each other regularly, right? If I had to be honest, I think I went more than once a year on some years, and I go every year, kind of thing. And so, I'm at that level with it, and a few of us are, right? So we run into them. So then, they know what they can get away with. And sometimes they'll tease us, but they're never allowed to take a bite in front of us.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Because when they leave, because they really go home at night, no one sticks around. And so we'll pick on them too and be like, yeah, get the hell out of here. Go drink your champagne. I always tell them, go drink your champagne and eat your chocolate mousse. And they'll be like, sometimes they'll fire back and go, cheesecake, dude. I eat cheesecake, and I'm like, okay, whatever, your cheesecake. And so, me and us and the crew get comfortable, and we pick on each other, and we razz each other. Yeah,
that's fun. And so when they start out a challenge, do they tell you like you can only go this far, or these are animals?
Or I'll tell you, I'll joke around. The next day when they come back, I'll even ask the crew if I could sniff their farts, just so I could smell what they ate.
Anyone said yes?
Hey, come over here. Hey, Mark. Let's say that. Get over here, fart in my face. Oh God, let me see what you had for dinner last night. Oh Jesus. It's like smelling a flower when you're us. Oh jeez. I know I'm crazy.
Wow. So did you prefer your alone challenges or your ones with a partner?
I love that question because I like my alone challenge. And here's why. Because the empowerment, like when you can, I was literally circled by a jaguar out there, and there would be a tapir that would come every night that was loud and scary. But then when I learned it was a tapir, and you know how if you go camping and you hear a noise, like, what's that, right? Imagine being alone and naked in an actual jungle with no one around to help you. And so I liked it, like that. I was like, whoa, I'm really doing this. Like, this is like, if I can do this, imagine just letting me loose in the wild, period. Like, camping is nothing for guys like me, right? And so it's like, I'm like, yeah, I liked my alone one. I did because I lived off stuff that people, I'm that one survivalist that if you really look at, like, say, the way I eat, I lived off tarantulas on that one. And other survivalists might be like, well, down the hatch. But me, I'm like, delicioso. Like, I really love eating tarantulas, right?
Okay, I
And
have
so
a tarantula. I'm gonna keep it hidden.
you have a tarantula?
I do.
Oh man, let me know when. I would love to come over for dinner.
No, thanks. I actually
What?
love
What?
it.
No? Okay, well, don't turn your back on me around that tarantula. Hey, I'll tell you a funny story on that note. After I ate that dolphin, I put the TMZ article and video up on my social media, and I had a friend. It was the funniest comment in the comments below. He was like, "Holy crap! Remind me not to fall asleep around you."
Well, that's a valid point. So, if one of your partners died on Naked and Afraid, would you eat them?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I made a joke in social media on that level just to just touch on this. Uh, I don't know how you feel, if you want to use this or not, but like when COVID hit, I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna be eating good.
That's morbid, but I love it. So, how did you learn survival? Where did you get your training? I mean, if you're a kind of LA area city person, where did you learn about this?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, and it goes all the way back to I think there's a certain part of it that you're born with, but then there's also exposure, right? And um, my grandmother had fruit trees in her backyard, and she would let me loose back there, and I just knew that you ate off trees, and from, like, I'm talking a baby, and I loved it back there. And then when I was a child, my dad, he exposed, there was something, I must have been 5 years old. We had something called Indian guides in the YMCA. We used to have to make our own moccasins and our own leather vests and our dads would go camping, and they take all of us out there, and we would dress like little Native Americans and run around and make things and hike and get exposed to nature. Today it's sad because that'd be called cultural appropriation, which is terrible that even exists, because we loved Native Americans, and we were allies of theirs. So they won't even let you love other cultures now without giving them a bad name. And we loved them. I learned about them. It's probably the best way to make people care about them. And now they want to stop that. And it's ironic because I think back, I'm kind of being detailed. My uncle was he was Apache, a real Native American. He didn't care. And so he was in there too. And but I had exposure to that. And then my dad took me snorkeling and surfing, and my dad loved nature. He loved the tide pools. Do you know what tide pools are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we went tide pooling, and I was playing with animals my whole life, little animals,
I went
snorkeling with.
one in Hawaii. We went snorkeled in the little like shark cove and the tide pools. I saw a little like octopus or something, and it was really cool.
Yeah, a lot of octopus. What island did you go to?
Oahu. I've been
Okay,
to Maui and Hawaii and Oahu, but mostly I go to Oahu.
Yeah, my dad lives over there in Kona. So so uh so anyways, exposure mixed with, and I was that kid that always had a jar with a bee and a spider in it or something and bugs in it. And so much so that like on birthdays and Christmas, like an uncle would give me like those containers made for bugs, right? And
Oh yeah.
so like I was very just into it, from a
Who
child.
you are.
And then you combine that with Y2K hit, and
Mhm.
everybody was scared that stuff was going to go down. And so I always fantasized about being like Tarzan, like a lot of little boys and girls or whatever, and being a nature guy. And then Y2K actually inspired me to say, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to actually educate myself and learn about survival. And so in 1999, I dove very deep into the world of survival, and I immersed myself in the wilderness for like a year. Like I took a course in San Diego, California on urban and how to move through like anarchy and rioting, and like a survival class. I learned how to treat animal hides and turn them into clothes and fire pottery in the earth just with coal. And then after that, I did one where I went to Mount Shasta and I had to dig snow caves and sleep in snow caves. And I went to the desert of Arizona. And then I just immersed myself in survival in every environment. So that's when we were talking about how were you found for Naked and Afraid. Well, not only did I save that life in 2014, but I had been training survival 14 years, 15 years before.
And that's kind of what you do now, isn't it? You teach children these skills in some ways, right? You do a lot of working with kids right now, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I get hired right now. I taught at schools gardening and stuff like that, which is a form of self-reliance. And being exposed to me, they would learn other things. And so I did work in the schools until COVID hit, and then that kind of changed everything. And I focused on my tour guide business, where I take people kayaking with whales, snorkeling with sea lions. So I do for my life. I expose people to nature, but then I also do assemblies where I do appearances with, because I have crazy videos with whales and everything with me with whales, and so I do assemblies in and right before COVID hit, I did this big assembly in New York, and it went off and went crazy, and they were going to book me on a tour around the nation doing assemblies, but COVID hit and put the kibosh on that. So then I do them in small form, and I'd still do assemblies, but that translated into people that could afford me, that saw my assemblies and said, "Hey, do you?" And they have me teach their kids privately. So I actually teach some kids privately, families, their children, how survival skills in nature, like how to climb rocks and rappel, and even how to snorkel, and how to hunt animals, and how to make fire. And so, yeah, I teach kids self-reliance, I would have to say, because it's not just survival, but it's self-reliance. Because and I'm very proud of these parents. I consider them very smart, because I got this one really kids, an 8-year-old little girl and a 5-year-old little boy, that really have been given to me by these parents in this capacity recently. And I tell them, you hired me not to teach them how to rub sticks together. I said, if I find a coyote on the way here, we're going to skin that coyote and I'm going to eat it. And these parents actually were like, oh, yeah. So those are my kind of parents, because they're smart, because those kids are going to be tough.
Yeah. Okay, I have two more questions. One, is there any like really awesome story that you have that you wish made it on camera but didn't?
Yes. Yeah. One of them is this: on XL7 with Max and Amber as my partner, you'll see in XL4, I actually have a saying that would be a baseline teaching saying if I was to teach you a course. And I was going to get shirts, I think, with this on it. And it says, if you're not willing to eat maggots, you don't really want to survive. If you're not willing to eat maggots, you're not really a survivalist. Because at the baseline, if there was a pile of maggots or death, you better eat the maggots.
So
And
you're
so a
bringing
lot of people don't.
humans into like their animal form of saying you either have the will to survive or not. You have to like push past any squeamishness and just be like, I want to survive. I want to live.
Yep. and you have to be willing to eat maggots. And so that's a baseline thing. And so what I'm getting at is that's a teaching thing for me. And that's what a lot of people don't see me doing on television is they think I'm being mean when I'm actually trying to give you something. I'm trying to teach you something. It's a mentality. So Max and Amber, that alligator that we got together, I was eating it longer than anyone, into like 10 days into it. But in the spine of the alligator is where all the maggots were, because there's a hole running down the spine where the nerves go and everything, and they're gone. And then the fire can't get to those maggots and burn them too easily. So I was getting a stick and I was sticking it down in there and I was eating maggots off of the stick. And Max and Amber are looking at me like, damn, and I looked at them and I go, if you're not willing to eat maggots, you don't really want to survive. If you're not willing to eat maggots, you're not really a survivalist. And Max and Amber both go, give me that. And they both ate like a couple maggots each, like small bite. And I go, all right. I go, stepping up your game. I like it. I go, you guys, you surprised me. And I wish that would have made it to TV.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite ones that I wish would have made it to TV. And I would have to say, geez, because there are some good ones that are that can't make it always, that are pretty wild. Let me think. XL4, XL.
They did put the eyeballs in there. Do you regret your choices there?
Yeah, a lot of people think I got sick from eating them. I believe I got sick from putting them in my head, because when I put them in my head, they were raw.
Yeah.
Now I would have to say what XL7, XL4, my Naked and Afraid alone. There's some stuff that just didn't make it because the camera wasn't on too. Okay. Like one time I was talking to Blair in the morning, and then 10 feet behind me, a leopard ran by, and she goes, whoa, a leopard just ran past.
That's cool. Yeah, that's scary, but cool.
Yeah, but cool, right? You get to say that, but yeah, that's my favorite one right there. There's kind of there's silly ones, but there's like one when I rolled down a hill when I was with Blair and stuff like that. But I can't think of one right now too much that sticks out in my head, except for that maggot thing, because I always like that. And then on that same XL4, what they don't show is that same day when I got a monitor lizard and 2 legs. So not only did I have a head and that back strap, you don't see everything else I got that day. I mean, I was rich with meat, which would have really, it was a lot of meat. And, it would have made me look a little better, but big deal. But yeah, I can't think of anything. If I think of something, I'll let you know, because there is some really good stuff.
What makes you take those risks, like climbing those tall trees that other people are scared to do, and putting things in your eyes, and things that take you out of challenges, but what makes you take the risk to do it?
Sometimes I'm just love being a clown. I'll do anything for a laugh. I mean, like I'll do, I was disappointed and I felt bad for the audience, the fans, and the network on XL8, I believe, the Amazon. I had to leave after the first night, and they invest in me because I deliver. Mm-hmm. But this gets into a story.
You weren't the only one to leave that challenge right away.
No, I mean, that's how harsh it was. That was harsh. And I could have handled the bugs. I handled the bugs good, better than others. I just had an accident. And so, I mean, and you look how harsh that was. Look, Steven's teeth fell out. So, I mean, we get malnourished, but I'll tell you a story behind that. So as far as the fans go, and the network goes, I failed in TV land. I lasted one night. Gary Golding, I like to deliver at least 7 or 8 episodes of good, solid stuff, whether it's humor or true skills. And that's why they bring me. Well, I get blind. Turns out my mom was having symptoms of problems, and she had dealt with colon cancer before. She waited till insertion day because she knew I wouldn't have access to a phone and I wouldn't be able to reach her, so I wouldn't have to worry. And on insertion day, my mom went into the hospital to go get these symptoms checked. She had cancer. They cut her open that day.
Wow.
So then I'm scared. I don't want to call my mom for a couple of days because I'm blind. So I'm protecting my mother, not calling her because I don't want her to worry, because I want to be able to make that phone call and say, I'm fine. I can see now, right?
Yeah.
Couple days pass. My eyes are coming back. I call my mom. She's in the hospital with cancer. And then I have to come home now anyways. And so my mom needed me. Turns out the universe knew better. And it spit me out of the Amazon right away. And my mother needed me at home to take care of her with cancer. They released her to my custody from the hospital. It took her so long to recover on extraction day. So my mom did exactly the 60 days I was supposed to do in the Amazon, but in the hospital. And then they released her to me. And for 4 months, I had to be her 24-hour nurse. And I spent those 4 months helping my mother die. And so my mother passed away. And what I'm getting at is, sure, as far as the TV and the fans go, I failed. But as far as my personal life went, it was what was needed. And so I don't have regrets about it, because I can look at that and reflect on that and think, hey, you knew better, universe. You knew where I needed to be. So I don't have like a weird thing about it, but because I felt like, whoa, someone knew something I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question. I don't know if you can answer this. Are we going to see more of Gary Golding on TV?
I will say that there's a good chance you will. There's a good chance that you will. With the way things go with me, I wouldn't doubt it, because, and I'm going to give you a reason why, because it's pretty interesting to answer your question. On XL4, I was the most written about character there.
Mm-hmm.
And on XL7, if you watch it, almost every episode ends with me as the teaser. What's Gary going to do next? What's he going to eat next? Is he going to vomit in the shelter? Did he get hurt? Yeah, did he hurt himself when he fell out of that tree? I'm the only one with an
so hard. I was like, make it to the end.
Yeah, and I'm the only one on that XL7 with an episode named after him. It's called Gary Eats All the Things. And so that is one reason. Another reason is they didn't talk to me for a year, and they didn't want to use me because I ate that dolphin. And I was cocky, and I told them, oh, you'll be having me back. Mark my words. And they said, yeah, we'll see. And sure enough, they had me back. So what I'm saying is, I don't know that they can resist putting me back in there again.
How old would you go?
You know, it's always a tough call, because you got to deal with the fact that you're literally going out there to you really do sign up to die and get diseases. And I always think to myself, and I'm not the only one that does, it's like, man, how many times can I dodge a bullet? Because some of them have walked away with diseases, and I just think, man, eventually it's only a matter of time, right? And
like when EJ was on it in the last challenge, I'm like, okay, he's done awesome. Like he made it through, and like, but at some point you got to stop putting yourself through that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then you get us people that are up like 6, 7 challenges deep, right? And it's like, and and a lot of us we desire to be bigger than having to do that, know. And but at the same time, the growth, my friends are some of the best survivalists around, and they're pros. And then I get to spend time with experts in foreign countries, in the Amazon and
Learning
Africa,
from people.
Brazil. And so it's funny how people will judge me, especially. It's just like I'm crazy and I'm good on TV. They have no idea the experts I spend time with. Like, imagine my knowledge base. So every time I go, I grow, right? So there's that side that I just am kind of addicted to, where like, oh man, I get to go learn some more. And so it's hard to say, I mean, I I always, because what one thing you never hear me say on these challenges, you never ever hear me say I'm gonna finish for sure,
Yeah.
because I'm too realistic, and I don't really plan on it.
Mhm.
And then you never hear me say I quit.
Yeah.
Like I'm meaning I'm not ever going to go again.
Yeah.
I always claim to not know, because I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to know. But you're out there inspiring all the next generation of survivalists.
Yeah, this a lot of times is, I always tell everybody the only reason I do these challenges is because of this. That's the only reason, and to carry a message to humanity, and 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 I did a pretty good job, because if you think about it, how many episodes? There's 10 on XL4. There's a 2-hour special. There's Alone. There's another XL7. I'm probably have 27 episodes with this sentence in it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I learned a lot from you. You have very interesting stories. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
Well, I got to tell you, Celeste, you personally, you've been a witch through this whole thing. Like, I can't believe the way you behaved. You've been a total witch,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you've been a witch, and it was my pleasure and it was an honor. So just, hey, when you do that spell, do a good one on me, all right? Jeez.
Yes, of course.
All right, thank you.